We have what's reported as the Bears' top 3 targets in the 2025 NFL Draft. Do I believe it? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to look at 3 realistic trades that the Bears could pull off in the 2025 Draft and dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And I want to start off talking about the Bears and their top 30 visits that they do have scheduled. We now have a full list of that, right? So we'll go over that and what that could mean for the Bears draft. And we'll get into some of the rumors around the draft, right? So first up, Ashton Jeanty. We already know Ashton Jeanty, the consensus number 1 running back in this draft. And while there are some Bears that are all for drafting Ashton Jeanty, there are some Bears fans that look at the running back position and the depth the quality depth that it has in this draft and think that the Bears may be reaching a little bit there at number 10 and could go after a different position. I think one thing is clear in this is that Ben Johnson, he loves running backs. And he wants a new running back to this team, right? It just is what it is. He's going to love running the game of football, and he's going to want an additional running back here to help bring his system together. That's one thing that's clear in this. If Ashton Jeanty is the guy at number 10 there, of course, it's going to be met with some Bears fans that love it, some Bears fans that have questions about it. But like I've said, and like I think with a lot of this is that the Bears have set themselves up to be able to do that if that's what they choose to do in this draft. I think that's just what it comes down to. We'll see, right? But Ashton Jeanty, one of the first names that we did hear about, the Bears setting up a top 30 visit, and the way that Jeanty's also brought up the Chicago Bears, like randomly in interviews and things like that, I do get the feeling that Jeanty wants to be a Chicago Bear. Now, again, I don't think let me not say any. I don't think very many rookies are going to come in and be like, oh, I just don't want to go to this team, right? Like, they're all excited about this process. Yeah, they have their teams that they are favored in, that they want to go to, whether it's the coach or the personnel or whatever like that. And Jeanty could very well fit in that mode for the Chicago Bears. We'll see if he's the guy there at number 10. Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, as well as another guy. And this is a guy that, Poles has said he wants to bring in competition for Braxton Jones. Connerly would absolutely be that, right? When you look at it as well, with Braxton Jones facing free agency, there's a lot there. Connerly does feel like a guy who could be there in the early part of the second round, and that could very well push Braxton Jones for that tackle position. And that is why the Bears may go a skill position earlier in the draft. And then they feel comfortable getting a guy like Connerly in the second round, right? He's not a finished product. He still has some growing that he needs to do, but he's a really good athlete, strong. He has that aggressive mentality, and he doesn't seem like somebody you're going to have to worry about the bull rush for. So Connerly makes a lot of sense there for the Bears, having a top 30 visit there also. Next up, guy I talked about yesterday, Isaiah Bond. You talk about a yard after the catch merchant. That's what Isaiah Bond is. This is a guy that when you pair with DJ Moore and Romo Dunze as a possession wide receiver, you bring him in here. You already got Olamide Zaccheaus there as well. This is a guy with his speed. But I think if you do draft Isaiah Bond on top of bringing in Zaccheaus, that spells the end for Tyler Scott. I don't know. I'm not saying that Tyler Scott's going to immediately be cut or anything, but his place in the depth chart is going to be there at the bottom if the Bears do draft a guy like Isaiah Bond after getting Olamide Zaccheaus as well. But we'll see. Now, Isaiah Bond does have some frame issues. He's on the slider frame thing, but he's a tough son of a bitch, to be 100% honest with you there. So he's not a guy that's going to be afraid of contact or anything like that. Makes sense for the Bears. Next up, a guy I haven't talked a lot about, but the Bears do have a top 30 visit schedule with, is Breshard Smith, the running back out of SMU, right? Now, he was a wide receiver in his college career. Last year was the first year ever playing running back, and he had over 1,300 yards. He has instincts. He has vision, which is really good, especially after playing the wide receiver position. And when you look at what he had with speed, agility, this is a guy that, listen, especially when you look at somebody like positionless players in the NFL, and like I've said before, you don't want to kind of necessarily target those guys when you need skill in other places, but if you get one and it makes sense for your roster, you do it. Breshard Smith is a guy that I do think should be talked about a little bit more in this draft, especially being somebody with the way that that it's going in the NFL when you're looking at more positionless players. He played for SMU, so there's that there, but that over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, an average of 5.7 yards per reception. Per carry is really big there. And then because he was a wide receiver, you can convince yourself that he's going to be able to be a dual threat guy at the next level as well. So look out for Breshard Smith being there on the board, the Chicago Bears board. Now he's going to be able to get a little bit later down in that draft, but I think that this guy, if the Bears do go with him, it's a creative pick and a pick that could very well make a lot of sense under Ben Johnson and his offense. Next up, Nick Martin, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. This is an undersized guy, right? But he didn't play a lot of last season with injury, but I think it says a lot that the Bears are doing a top 30 visit with him, even with that injury concern, right? He fits Dennis Allen and the solid defense that he likes to play as well. He does get pressure on quarterbacks and harasses quarterbacks, but, it makes a lot of sense there for the Bears. So overall, the Bears have come into this top 30 visit, and they have a lot of players on that top 30 visit list that make a lot of sense for what the Bears do need. And I think that's the thing to look out for here is that the Bears getting things that they need in this draft and maybe even finding a little bit of wiggle room to be a little bit fancy in it as well. So, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. Overall, like I've said many times before, the Bears have tons of flexibility in this draft to do a lot of different things. I know there's been some guys that have pushed back on that a little bit. But when you look at the Bears and their needs, right? Offensive tackle or offensive line, is because we need depth overall, right? Even if you're not necessarily getting starters, which I still think you should be looking for and you still can do. But outside of that, offensive line, running back, safety, linebacker, right? Those are some of the biggest needs that the Bears have right now. I know people are going to say edge, and I can't knock you if you have edge on the list. I just don't know with Odeyingbo here being here. I what that means for what the Bears' plans are. I don't know, right? I'm not saying that it doesn't. I think Austin Booker, Daniel Hardy factor into that a little bit as well. They could go edge or interior defensive line with some of their picks also, but I think the biggest needs there are offensive line, linebacker, running back, safety, right? I think that's the things that I would really like to see the Bears focus on in this draft. Will they? We don't freaking know, right? Nobody knows. But the Bears have put themselves in a really good position to do some creative things, man. But there's a article that was written on realistic trades that the Chicago Bears could pull off in the 2025 draft. And I want to look at these trades, right? So the first one that came up, and this one was written by Bears Goggles On, so shout out to them there. They said this, right? The first one is that the Bears get the number 6 pick and a 2025 fourth round pick at number 108 for trading our 10th pick and our third round pick in 2025, number 72, and a 2026 third round pick. Now, this is a reporting for them to get Ashton Jeanty with this pick. Now, I don't think the Bears are going to trade up. Like, there's already too many questions about if the Bears should even go running back with number 10 than to trade up to make sure, like, Hampton's still there. Judkins is still there. There's still some really good running backs in this draft. So I don't know if that would make sense for me for the Bears to trade up and to give up assets. Now, they're getting a fourth round pick back in this one, even though they're giving up a third round pick and a future third. But I don't know. Like, I love Jeanty. Make no mistake about it. But I don't know if their Bears are in that position to give up present and future assets to draft Jeanty when there's some really damn good quality running backs in this draft. Personally, that's my personal opinion. The next one in this one is that the Bears trade with the Indianapolis Colts. They trade their number 10 pick and a 2025 seventh round pick, that's number 233, for the number 14th pick and to pick up an additional third round pick in at number 80. Now, here's the thing for this. If the Indianapolis Colts are that desperate to move up 4 spots to where they also give you an additional third round pick and all you have to give up is a 7th round later in this draft, this is one of the best trades on this list for me. I actually like this trade a whole lot because the Bears could still get what they want and need 4 spots down, and you pick up an additional third round pick, which could be your safety, it could be your running back, it could be another tackle, whatever you want to do there, right? It could be your defensive tackle, it could be those type of things. This right now, like, if the Colts right now are that desperate to move up, and in this one they talk about getting a tight end here, I'm not mad at it, man. I am not mad at it at all. If they want to move up to get Tyler Warren that bad, I'm all for taking advantage of the Indianapolis Colts personally. The next one is a trade with the Dallas Cowboys. The Bears will trade their 41st pick in this draft, number 41 overall, and a 2025 7th round pick to 240 to get the number 44 pick, a 2026 third round pick, and a 2025 6th round pick, number 171. This seems like one of those trades just to come up with a trade, right? Personally, it depends maybe on who's there on the board at that point of the Bears. Like, not to say that the Bears aren't willing to trade down, right? But if the Bears are, if they get, for example, like Quishon Judkins at number 39, which is pointed out here, maybe they are willing to be more creative at number 41. I don't know, right? I don't see really what the overall benefit in this. Yeah, you pick up 2 additional picks in 2026. Well, one in 2026 and another one in 2025. That's the 6th round pick. It depends on who's on the board, how the Bears value them. I think that's the biggest thing in a trade like this. If this were to go down, what would make sense there for the Bears? So we'll see. We'll see. Overall, though, there's a lot of kind of conversation right now around what the Bears can do, and everything's on the board, right? I've said that many times before. Everything's on the board, but I think it does come down to who's there at number 10 for the Chicago Bears and what they do there, and then what teams are calling there as well. I don't think the Bears are going to be willing to give up some assets to trade up to number 6 like in that first trade. But hey, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe you guys have a different view on it. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. But it is Friday. That means it is mailbag day here at Chicago Bears Central. Let's go ahead and get into these voicemails for today, man. This first one that we got, this one is from the 773. They didn't leave their name.
Hello, CBC. I'd like to first give y'all a thumbs up for your expertise in this off season, especially Hayes. Let me just say, they pay guys like you $20 million a year. This guy's making that kind of money with a fraction of the skills that you have. So keep that good expertise going. For example, you made some realistic takes on Tyreek Stevenson and DeAndre Swift, and helping us to see that because of the systemic problems of the Bears last year, many of us are not evaluating the players properly. That's because we were sort of stuck in our feelings on the results of the season. But you said that also that we were going to have to wait till about the 6th game of the season, and then we'll know where the Bears really are. And that's real good and positive. I appreciate your expertise, and like I said, keep honing your skills, man, because you got a big payday laying ahead for you, Hayes. Y'all, I like to say Bears up, Bear down, Chicago up, Bears, and Bear down. Y'all have a good weekend.
All right, so being able to not value the players because of the state of the Bears, I think is real. I think that, like you pointed it out, it's great. What you've seen there with Tyreek Stevenson, like when I went over the numbers and where he ranked as a quarterback, I do think that it opened some eyes. Like, make no mistake about it, Tyreek Stevenson had some disappointing times a lot of them last year, but he still graded out as a slightly above average starting cornerback in this league, and he's only in his 2nd year, right? We've seen sophomore slumps before. Now I get the Bears fans as well. They have some questions, but even with Swift, Swift was not as bad as what some people make him out to be. He just wasn't, right? And I think that's why you're seeing the Bears want to shore that up with getting a running back in this draft. I think that's why it's as important for the Bears as what it is. They're still going to address it, but let's not act like Swift was absolutely trash. He wasn't. The offense overall was in a place of being trash. The defense had, the whole second half of the season was trash, right? For Tyreek Stevenson, I think Tyreek, of course, I bet on him to come out of it more, right? Because he's still young. He's still learning. I hope that last year was a lot of growing pains for him to learn what it's going to take to be consistently good in the NFL at this level and what he's going to need to do to get there. And hopefully it's a wake-up call for him. I would love to see him wake up some and grow up. And I think that's what it is. Maturity on the field, maturity off the field. Tyreek Stevenson should use that as a motivating factor because it's still him, Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon can still be, and then you still have Terrell Smith coming off the bench. They could really be that cornerback crew that's that's just really, really good, really solid, and cover up each other's mistakes a lot. And I really do love that aspect of it. Let's just see if it comes into fruition. But all right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Keys.
Yo, what's up, CVC? It's your boy Keys, man. Hope you guys are doing well on this lovely evening, man. Let's get to it. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm out on the road right now, and I'm thinking about the draft again. And interesting thing, the Bears with Ben and Dennis, they went up to Michigan. Well, it's a pro day. Like, I'm sure they're going all around watching all these different pro days. And the thought that came to mind was something that Coach Harbaugh did, a Michigan fan. Hayes, I know you probably have cursed me out. I don't care. Go Blue. Coach Harbaugh said something that was really, like, interesting when he said that Kenneth Grant, he may not be the best player on that team right now, but he might be the best one that play in the pros. So I'm thinking like this. I'm like, Mason Graham, although I think Mason Graham is better, he would be a phenomenal 3 technique. But Kenneth Grant, I think was this, like, either one of them guys, man, being a Michigan fan and watching that defense this past year after winning the Natty, I felt like they D-line, all 4 of them guys were the best players on that team this past year, aside from Will Johnson, but he didn't play the full season. But that D-line is what made that defense. Dan Moore is going to be edge next year. I would love the Bears to take. That's a whole nother topic. But Kenneth Grant, I like Billings, and I know we just got Grady Jarrett, but them 2 old vets, and I don't know how much longer they're going to play, even though I think Grady Jarrett still might be effective, and Bills is a guy, but I wouldn't be hard-pressed if we missed out on Mason Graham going after Kenneth Grant. We could trade back and accumulate some picks in the midst of that before the Chargers try to pick him up. Kenneth Grant, I think he could end up, he has a talent where he could be probably the best nose tackle in the league. And that's what I truly think. So let me know what you guys think. As always, shot town up, bear down.
Drafting Kenneth Grant. Here's the thing, bro. I don't actually knock your analysis of Kenneth Grant at all. I want to be clear. There's nothing that I'm saying in this that I disagree. That I'm saying I disagree with you that Kenneth Grant could be damn good. I think Kenneth Grant could be amazing at the NFL level. When you just look at what this guy has, 6'3", 339 pounds, but still able to move with the speed that he does. He doesn't have Javon Dexter speed, but that's still great. 3 sacks last year, 3.5 the year before that. This guy has the potential to be a great. And if you can bring him in or learn behind Grady Jarrett, you got of course Billings, those 2 veterans there. And like you said, you don't know how long term they're going to be for the Bears, but if you can go out and find your duo, right? Him and Javon Dexter, that could be that duo for years. I'm never going to be mad at that. I just don't know how much the Bears are prioritizing the interior defensive line in this. I just don't know. And I don't say that to say like you're off your rocker there. I mean, he's still going to go in the first round, probably the end of the first round. But I don't know if the Bears are willing to trade back that. Can they trade up for one of their second-round picks to get him? Maybe, right? We'll see there. But I do think that this guy, like Kenneth Grant, is a monster, and he has the potential to be a really damn good player at the NFL level. I don't know if the Bears are as focused on that position right now. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying they're not. They very well could be. Ryan Poles likes to throw out his smoke screens, and he does some things that aren't necessarily expected on paper. So maybe Kenneth Grant is on that board. We'll see. But as the talent of Kenneth Grant, no notes. I love the talent that he has. Is he going to be a Bear? We'll see. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one's from the 312.
Hey, Hayes. I'm a first-time caller, even though I've been watching you guys for years. Love you guys, and I love your sports content. But I want to make a statement. And by the way, let me introduce myself. They call me 4-5, so that might be a unique name to you guys. But yeah, just call me 4. Anyway, there's something you guys are not really paying attention to, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong about that. It boils down to the fact, 5-12 team last year, highly talented, very bad coaching decisions. We have a new coaching staff,
And I have a feeling there are people that's already on the team that we're not paying attention to. And secondly, what I do really want to say, I don't think anybody's paying attention to while we're drafting, that the new coach, Ben Johnson, says, well, he's ready to win and win now. It appears to me, and maybe you may or may not have seen this, they're trying to actually go for it all this year. They may not have everything that Philadelphia had or Kansas City and so forth, but from where I'm looking at it, it seems to be that they're trying to win now mode. And so when it comes down to the offensive lines, they got who they want right now. This would make it open for maybe a Jeanty to come through, or Marion and Hampton, maybe even the guy from Iowa. But the bottom line is, I think the Bears, and I think we need to pay attention to what this guy really wants to do. And I do believe that they're going for almost all of it this year. Just my opinion. But anyway, I enjoy your content, and I enjoy watching you guys, because, boy, I spend a lot of time with you guys, and you just don't know it. But anyway, Chicago up, Bear down.
All right, here's the thing, and I think a lot of people say this, right? Like, and I get the mindset of, well, we got new coaches, maybe they can develop guys, and yeah, and sometimes you see that happen. I think it's rare that you see players completely turn around from what they were. Maybe they refine some things, but I think that Braxton, like, for example, like if we're talking about Braxton Jones, like, how is he going to – I don't know if new coaching is going to fix his ability to not handle a bull rush, right? Like maybe they can work on some other things that maybe you can be solid in everything else. And I do think that's why the Bears are still going to give him – like, it's not the conversation that's being had, at least not here, that Braxton is not going to play next year, that Braxton isn't going to give opportunities next year. I just think that Braxton is better as a swing tackle. I think if you're able to bring Braxton as a depth piece to where he still plays a lot of snaps for you, he can be one of the better ones in the NFL at that. I truly do believe that. Yeah, he still has the bull rush problems, but what he does in other places is solid enough, right? Now, if you still want to see what you can get out of him with new coaching, I think that's like I said, either way, that's fine too. If you just want to bring in some competition for him and see what comes of that, then it's still another valid way to attack it as well. Braxton is an interesting one. And I think a lot of these players are going to be really newly evaluated under coaching. But I think if you're just expecting them to, just because it's new coaches, just to automatically turn everybody around. I said this before, not that a new coach can't necessarily turn a turd into a diamond, right? Now, maybe you can turn a turd into a slightly less smelly piece of shit. Or maybe you can take a player that showed themselves to be solid and turn that into, above average, right? But I don't know if you're going to necessarily, like, people who think, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying there have been some common mindset that I've seen from commenters on like, oh, we got new coaching staff, everybody's just going to develop even more from that. That's not necessarily true. The coaches could come in and say, hey, this guy's not that good. He's like, that's one thing about bringing in better coaches as well, that they come in, especially with a new perspective on it, and not being necessarily as attached to players. They come in and be like, hey, listen, I know your coach. I know you drafted this guy. He's not that good. He's just not that good. And I think we have to open up ourselves to the possibility of that being as equally something that could happen as them coming in and developing guy better than what the last staff would do. Because the last staff, if they weren't that good coaches, maybe they just weren't that good at identifying talent. Whereas this new coaching staff and like Dennis Allen and these guys that come in and they're like, this guy just ain't good. I mean, we can still try to work with them if you want us to, but I think we'd be better off putting those assets into other places, and let's get some new faces in here. So it can go either way. We'll see. Either way, if you trust this coaching staff, their evaluation, whether it's good or bad over the players that are here, I think that's going to be the important part. But you guys, as always, can let me know how you feel on that down below. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.